Oh boy, this morning, Thursday, November 19th, IO Interactive has announced the game that they've been teasing, their new project, and it is a 007 game, a James Bond game titled simply right now just Project 007. And I'm really happy about this. So at the time of making this video, all we know right here, the actual James Bond social account tweeted Project 007 working title is a brand new James Bond video game with a wholly original story. Earn your 00 status in the very first James Bond origin story to be developed and published by IO Interactive. I just think, yes, I wanted to see more. I wish we got more than just this teaser, but we know it's coming, and I think it's really good news for 2020, a year with not a lot of good things, for a lot of reasons. First, like I said, it's a perfect combination. IO Interactive is one of my favorite studios, personally, so I'm going to fanboy out probably this whole video. I apologize, but IO Interactive, for those of you that don't know, are the folks behind the Hitman games, all of the Hitman games, most recently the newer ones, whether you like those or not. They still made the old ones, which are fantastic. They also made Freedom Fighters, one of my favorite games ever. If you've been listening to me for a long time, you know how many times I've just harped on that. They also made creative stuff like Kane and Lynch, Mini Ninjas, but I'm really... What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't scratch the couch. I'm always excited for what they're working on just because, like, I like their European flair. I like the style of their games. I like the chill vibe of them. And I feel like it fits their distinctly European style in a way. I think really fits with something like James Bond, especially considering the fact, like, I don't know what this game is, but it's saying it's a wholly original story, an origin story. That, to me, at the very least, sounds like a single-player narrative experience, some sort of single-player game, a straightforward video game, which I will always celebrate. But think about how IO Interactive is well qualified for this. They made a lot of games where you're, number one, a dude with a gun, but number two, a dude with a gun wearing a suit. I think the newer, actually no, all of the Hitman games really did a good job of capturing the feel of, like, the vibe of a room, being a man walking through a room. It sounds weird how I'm explaining it, but, like, the spy, the intrigue elements of the Hitman games could translate over perfectly well to a James Bond game. Not that they're going to make a James Bond game with Hitman gameplay, but just the fact that they can understand that vibe, they nail that vibe, they understand the importance of some of those little subtler elements and just kind of creeping around a ballroom where no one knows who you are, stuff like that. IO Interactive has been doing that for, like, what? Over 20 years now at this point, so I think they're extremely well qualified for a Bond game. And interestingly enough, too, it's like they shopped, I guess MGM shopped this to them because usually the Bond license had been tossed around for a while with EA and stuff like that. Bloodstone, one of the last games to release that was like just a single player adventure game, I thought was actually pretty good. Don't sleep on Bloodstone. It's like an original Daniel Craig adventure, but I'm curious to see what they're going to do here. If they can make their own James Bond, I think that's really interesting. I'd love to see them, like, get someone who both voice acts and mocaps it and, like, is like a star or just someone talented and iconic. That would be really interesting to kind of bring up somebody new, whether it's somebody who's already a great voice actor in video games. Please don't make James Bond Troy Baker. I don't think that's what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, honestly, but the bottom line, the news from today is that the Bond license is essentially in the hands of a development studio that knows what they're doing with their previous games, but also really, I think, is qualified to understand James Bond. I really love James Bond. Do you remember, like, in the 90s, if any of you guys are older like me, do you remember in the 90s there was, like, the golden age of Bond video games where it was, like, almost every year it felt like we were getting a Bond game, from obviously GoldenEye to Nightfire and all of those things. Everything or Nothing was incredible. I still can't believe that game was even made. So I'm really curious to see what they do here. I could tell right from the first note of the teaser video that it was Bond, and I freaked out. I have Sean Connery Bond posters in my house. I'm very excited about the franchise and what they're doing with it with the newer movies, but the games is where I think a lot of people, at least from the 90s, some kids my age, were introduced to Bond or started to understand Bond and then, like, adapted into the movies and stuff. So this is cool. This is exciting. I think this could be like a new... It's been a while since we've had a good James Bond video game, and damn it, 007 and all that stuff just works well for video games, or it's primed to work well. It doesn't always work well depending on who's making it, but Yeah, that's the bottom line. I just like on this channel talking about things I'm excited about, shit I love. And this news this morning really excited me. So I want to hear from you guys. I think there's an interesting conversation to be had. What do you think they're going to do with a original new James Bond in an original origin story? I thought the way they touched on some origins in Skyfall and Casino Royale were interesting for developing Bond. I didn't need it. I like him kind of just being a enigma, but I'm curious to see what they do here. I want to hear from you guys out there, if you're Bond fans, what you want. And if you're just a Bond game fan, what do you expect? Do you just want GoldenEye 2? Let's talk about anything about this Project 007 game down in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. But I got to get back to whatever other video I was making. This really distracted me. Thank you guys for coming around. If you enjoy this shit where I just kind of yap about stuff I like, click the like button. What are you doing? Stop. Clicking the like button helps me though. Subscribing also is a good idea if you haven't, because I don't spam you. I only put out videos like once a week or so. But thank you guys for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's all me.